Hello and welcome to StampingCatCrew.com. Today we're going to make this detailed gate Halloween card. This is the framelit set. It coordinates with the Graveyard Gate stamp set, but obviously think we have a new kind of Victorian looking lamppost set that's been released. This would look gorgeous paired up with that, so watch for that coming up real soon. We've been playing around with lots of different kinds of ideas with this. So for this one, I've pre-done a lot of the die cutting, so you don't have to set through it. But obviously, this is wider than the 4 1/4 inches that we normally do the width of a portrait-size card. So I'm going to show you what I did in order to pop that gate up and give it some depth and dimension. Let's set that aside. This is obviously our card, and you can see if I turn this to the side a bit, hopefully the camera can pick that up. I've popped it up with our dimensional strips here, and I'll show you what I did. We've also cut out the padlock and the key. It's tied on with some of the linen thread, and also done some sponging for the moon. So we're going to go over all that. These are the pieces that I had ready to go. Done the padlock in early espresso, and then I glued it actually onto Sahara sand and trimmed around the edges so that I would have some Sahara sand base that would pop up against the gate here. I've pre-done our sentiment, have a haunted Halloween. This is a little key that matches the framelit set, and then I've used, like I said, some linen thread. So I've wrapped it around the sentiment and then also tied it, and then I just scrunched it up to kind of fray the ends a bit. So this is the gate as it comes out from the die cut. And all I did was I took my paper snips, and I knew it's not going to fit on like this. I wanted that center portion to be popped up. So what I did is I took my paper snips and I went right along the edge of the gate. And then did the same thing on the other side. Went right along the center portion of the gate. And it's okay that the ends, and I'll show you what I mean, are hanging loose because those are going to be attached to the base. So this is that center portion that we had. This is that right hand side, and this is the left hand side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these pieces aside, and this is our 11-inch wide by 4 1/4. It's scored and folded at 5 1/2. I'm going to match up our ends nicely, and then I'm going to grab my bone folder, and that gives it a nice crisp edge. So all these sets are available on the Stamping Cat Crew page. If you just click the Shop Now button, it's all there. All the item numbers and measurements are also on my blog. So really easy to find, easy to do. I'm going to put this on the inside. Anytime we're using a really deeply colored paper, I like to put a lighter color inside for writing. Often we'll do a little decorating on the inside like we do on the envelope, which is a lot of fun. So in order to do the sponging for the moon, this is a typical sticky note. You can see that it's sticky on this side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 1-inch punch, and I'm going to punch that out. What I want to do is have a really nice crisp edge on here, which, because I was close to the edge, I didn't get, but that's okay, we can fix that. Okay, so we know we want it up in the corner, say about here. So I've set 2 colors aside. I've got some crumb cake and I've got some early espresso. I'm going to start with the crumb cake. And then, as always, I've got a piece of scratch paper that I'm going to set here. And you can see that no color's coming off. And what you want to do is kind of see how it's going to sponge. And so crumb cake is fairly light, so easy to work with. I'm going to add some depth and color first. And we want to particularly get around the moon and just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the crumb cake aside. Where we add some depth is with the early espresso, and this is obviously going to be much darker. So when you first set that down, I don't know if you can see that. Do you see the marks that are here on the paper? This is what we don't want to have happen. So we want to kind of start a bit with the color on the paper and then deepen on the one we're ending up with. And you can see some of the depth that's coming through. Without having the streaks on your paper. So I think that'll do it. We've got some of the lights and the darks in there. I'm going to close up the early espresso. We've also used the early espresso to stamp our sentiment here. So we're going to set that aside, set the sponge aside, and we've used the sticky note to have that stickiness, and that creates a mask there. So that's the moon and the negative space. So we take our adhesive, and this is just regular snail tape runner. I use it when I can. I actually love the Tombow liquid glue, but this has big enough spaces where we can put that down and have it look great. So we're going to go to the end, and then we're going to leave about this much space on the side. Here again, all the way to the bottom, and leaving some space on the end. We want to have that nice and even. And then the final thing is, these are our foam adhesive strips. It comes in a pack like this. There are 2 per, and they are 9 1/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches wide, and each one is really skinny, which makes it really nice for popping up something like this gate card. So I'm going to take one of these strips, I'm going to put it directly down the center of this gate. I'm going to cut off the extra piece right there, and then we're going to have it come off each side on 2 spots. One there, and one right here. And I'm going to put 2 more across the top right here. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to very carefully center that. And do the same thing on the other side. Put this back on the sheet. Save that to use later. Those are our foam adhesive strips. They're pretty darn awesome. So before we attach this onto the card, I'm actually going to take our base that we had earlier, and I'm going to add some adhesive right on the edges on the back. This is a Stampin'Up snail adhesive. Easy to use. And get that centered right on there. This is the gate. all of this that's left is sticky now, and it's popped up with dimension. And what we want to do is center this right on the card that we've done. And it's going to pop up and add that dimension. And I've added a dimensional to this as well. And we're just going to curl up this end, and that's the sentiment that we did, that we attached the key to. And what we want to do is have that just centered across the wide part of that gate, which makes that nice. And then the latch, I'm just going to add adhesive directly to it. And the big part that we have on our gate is right here. And we can fold that a little up to give it some more dimension. And you can see when you stand up the card, everything is popped up. So how we did the moon here with that piece, we did the same thing on the envelope. Start with the crumb cake and then add some deepening with the early espresso, and you are good to go. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. It is the detailed gatefold card with the graveyard gate stamp set, but it can do so many more things. So have fun and just play. Happy creating.